All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a really profound piece of source material titled The Turning Point, Rebuilding Hope from the Ground Up. Look, if you're tuning into this Explainer, I'm guessing you are tired. And I don't mean the kind of tired that a solid night's sleep can fix. We're talking about that deep, bone-weary fatigue, that heavy feeling where it seems like no matter what you do, absolutely nothing changes. Right off the bat, we want to explicitly reject any toxic positivity. We are definitely not here to tell you to just smile or look on the bright side, because let's be real, when you're at the bottom of a well, looking up at the sky doesn't make climbing out any easier. So, that brings us to our first major takeaway from the text. It is completely 100% okay to feel totally defeated. Honestly, it makes perfect sense that you might want to throw in the towel when life has handed you every reason to do exactly that. But I want to ask you to stick with me for just the next few minutes as we explore this material. Because as the author points out, losing hope doesn't actually mean your story is over. To get there, though, we kind of have to fundamentally redefine what it is we're experiencing. Hopelessness isn't the end of the book. It's actually just the terrifying, glaringly blank page that shows up when an old chapter has completely definitively ended. Losing hope just means that old chapter is done. Period. What's super interesting about this concept, and what we're going to explore today, is how this framework actually allows us to start writing the next chapter, but doing it one tiny microscopic word at a time. So, the source provides a roadmap to help navigate that terrifying blank page. It's broken down into 5 micro-actions. Lower the bar, disconnect from the noise, change your environment, the 15-minute rule, and start fresh. Let's dig into these. All right, step 1, lower the bar to ground-level survival. Here's the thing. When you are entirely depleted, the burden of trying to fix your career, your relationships, and your mental health all at once, it's impossibly heavy. It's literally impossible. The text argues that you must drop your expectations to ground-level survival. Seriously, if you can't get out of bed today, simply sitting up in bed, that is a massive victory. If you can't clean your whole room, just picking up a single piece of trash is a huge win. You've got to stop demanding greatness from a heart that is currently broken. Moving on to step 2, disconnect from the noise and protect your peace. You know how it is. When we feel hopeless, our very human instinct is to doom scroll. We use other people's social media highlight reels as concrete proof that we're somehow failing at life. Well, to combat that, the source lays out some practical steps to ruthlessly protect your peace. Turn off those notifications. Step away from draining people. You absolutely have to cut out the exhausting noise of a world that's constantly trying to sell you a perfect, shiny life. Because, spoiler alert, that perfect life doesn't actually exist. The author uses this really powerful metaphor here. Think of your mind as an injured muscle, right? If you pull a hamstring, you don't immediately go out and run a marathon. You rest it. You take it easy. In the exact same way, just like that injured muscle, your mind desperately needs dark, quiet, and rest in order to heal. Okay, step 3, change your environment to break emotional anchors. The text makes this brilliant observation. Staring at the exact same walls while sitting in the exact same chair traps your brain in a relentless rut, both physically and emotionally. Essentially, your environment acts as a heavy anchor for what you feel. But the really great news here, you don't need some grand, sweeping move across the country to a new city to fix this. You just need a tiny, almost unnoticeable shift to break that emotional anchor in your current surroundings. We're talking about micro changes. Open a window to let some fresh air into the room. Go sit on a park bench for literally 15 minutes, or just walk down a street you've never been down before. It sounds too simple, right? But it's incredibly effective, because you're gently coaxing your brain out of the darkness, just by giving your eyes something brand new to look at. Which brings us nicely to step 4, the 15-minute rule, managing the present. So intense, paralyzing anxiety flares up when we try to figure out how to survive the next year, or, the next 5 years. And that makes sense, because the future is a mountain you absolutely cannot climb today. The advice here is crucial. Stop looking at the massive mountain of the future. Instead, pull your focus completely inward. Bring it right down to the immediate, manageable present. 15 minutes. That's it, just 15. The concept asks you to completely drop all your long-term plans right now and focus entirely on managing just the next quarter of an hour. So ask yourself this specific grounding question. What can you do right now to make the next 15 minutes slightly better, or even just slightly more comfortable? We're looking for microscopic actions. Can you drink a glass of water?
Can you do a quick stretch? Can you just step away from your glowing screen for a second? Remember, you do not have to figure out the rest of your life today to be successful.
And that leads us into our final step. Step 5, start fresh and allow yourself to be a beginner. This is a really deep insight from the author. A lot of our hopelessness actually stems from grief. Grief for the life we expected to have by now, or grief for the person we used to be. But you have to allow yourself to be a beginner again. The past is gone. Holding on to its heavy ghost, that's precisely the thing keeping you trapped in the dark. It is entirely 100% okay to start over at 20, 30, 50, or 70. You get to embrace what the text calls the strange, quiet freedom of having nothing left to lose. Starting over at any age offers this total freedom to reinvent who you are. Why? Because you are under absolutely no obligation to be the person you were yesterday. Let's look at the conclusion of this explainer. The horizon. The dawn always comes. For anyone out there still feeling absolutely empty, please hear this. Your feelings are incredibly valid, but they are not permanent. The simple, undeniable fact that you are still listening to this explainer means a tiny, quiet part of you still wants to heal. It hasn't given up yet. Listen to that quiet part. You don't need a massive, overwhelming wave of inspiration today. You literally just need the courage for one microscopic step.
This source leaves us with this powerful reminder: the deepest night is always just before the dawn. Your story is not over. You're just in the middle of a very, very hard chapter right now. And taking it one 15-minute block at a time is entirely enough.
We're really in this together. So the source issues this gentle call to action, and I want to pass it on to you. Will you leave a single punctuation mark below to say, "I'm still here"? Proving to yourself that the new chapter has already begun is often the hardest part, but what will you do with your next 15 minutes? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep taking it 15 minutes at a time.